everybody. It's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies.
Well, I can barely hear you, Safi.
Really? Okay. Well, we are talking about the latest 2 episodes of American Horror Story. And I don't remember the first or the second name of the 2 shows.
You have The Sentinel, and you
that's
have
the first one.
Fire Island.
Fire Island is the second one.
Which both titles make sense.
Yes.
Which is nice because we're used to these shows where the titles don't even fit the episodes, and they're like with the X-Files, they'll have like Zoom to Kabaya. And it's like, what is that? Oh, it's the Malaysian word for hunger strike or something. Like that's like what they do with, at least with American Horror Story. They're like, this episode is called "Fuck You," because the whole episode is a giant "fuck you." Like that's what they would do. These 2 episodes, one of the reasons also why I think that they're releasing 2 a week, which I think has really hurt this season. But I do think that they had great ideas somewhat, but they just needed to be executed better. Similar to Chucky. But I think one of the reasons is because if you notice, both episodes were short.
Yeah,
and
the second one I noticed a lot.
The episodes last week were short too. And it's like they just have these little tiny topics. Like this week, you had The Sentinel, which was basically all about Mr. Whiteley and his Sentinel being in his serial killer lair. It was basically all about that. And then with the second episode, it's called Fire Island because it's all about them, all the gays going to Fire Island.
Which, does anybody else go to? I mean, I've never been to this area. Marco's never been to this area. So is that the place for gays to go and nobody else? Or did it used to be that way back, and this is the early 80s? So, I mean, I would like to know.
Well, just turn gay and get a time machine. You can find out.
No thanks. I don't want to be gay back in that time with all that.
But you could
sickness.
You could be Sandra Barnhart, and you could read tarot cards.
No, I don't think I want to read. I mean, we have the tarot cards again, but that's coming up in the second episode. So I don't know if I want to talk about that, even though Marco brought it up. But remember, last week we had a big thing with tarot cards because they really haven't shown anything supernatural, and except for this guy dressed up in a leather costume all the time and magically disappearing and magically appearing.
Well, so
anyway, it shows up, but not in the first episode.
I enjoyed both episodes. I thought, well, as we've said before last week, it seems like each episode is like slightly improving. But at the same time, it's kind of like too little too late because now the show's over next week.
Aww.
So, no more Gino.
Oh.
No more Mr. Whiteley. No more Mustache Man being ashamed and living in a shameful apartment. No more bars that are like weirdly themed so that Ryan Murphy can like be happy that he's shooting at like a different gay bar. It's like no more of that because the show's going to be over now.
Well, it's funny because on Saturday Night Live they had this character.
Safi, nobody cares about Saturday Night Live anymore.
He's is it Bill Haberman or Bill Hader? And he would play this gay character, and they said, well, what's going on this weekend? He would talk about all these different bars, and it's so I guess it's based on reality.
Safi, don't be boomer Safi now.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway.
You're being Boomer Safi.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
So, anyways, the first episode, basically, it's all about you have Gino, who now he's basically the star of the show, even though the show's basically over. And then you have Mustache Man, and you have the mafia guy. And it's really funny with him because he's got a strange haircut. Like, his hairdo looks so bizarre.
I'm wondering if it's a wig.
Yeah, I think it's a wig, and it looks so fake at the beginning of the season, but now it looks like more real, and it's like really weird how his wig has evolved over the course of the season more
got a new one.
More than his character.
Well,
and so
I thought of this episode anyway, the stars of it were him and Gino.
Well, he was the star last week, but I was going to bring that up before you talked about it.
Well, you would never have known it, and it was a big surprise because he's skinny and older.
Safi, nobody can hear you.
You would never have known it because he's skinny and older and smaller.
Safi, they still can't hear you.
He's going up against Frankenstein.
Safi, speak up or forever hold your peace.
I am.
Really?
It's getting to be quiet time.
Well, let's see. That's gonna an hour and 9 minutes from now. It'll be quiet time. So
okay.
Get ready.
Oh yeah.
Better buckle up.
Buckle up. Anyway.
So the already we have a retarded thing happen where, they've never really addressed the police issue. They've kind of just made it like an open thing of where police don't care about us and police don't care, and
you don't see them anywhere. Where's the police presence?
But that's the plot convenience. That's like the contrivance of like. It's like, but we have this thing where Gino has tracked down the serial killer. He knows where he is, his lair, and that's what it is. And the mustache man refuses to call for backup because police problems. And it's like, why? Like, that's just... So, like, the police are just going to remain these background characters that are just, like, a problem? Like, it doesn't make any sense because it's like... In a normal story, you'd have some sort of a resolution or some sort of a evolution to the police element of the story. Like, even in Dirty Harry, the police kind of evolved with the story, where near the end of the movie they became more of a problem, and they started doing all these stupid things like forcing him to go be the bag man for the serial killer, and that was an idiotic thing to do. And then they got mad when he was torturing the killer and because he was keeping that little girl hostage, and like the police evolved with the story. But in this show, the police are literally just they're almost like why did Mustache Man even need to be a policeman other than...
No, he didn't need to be one.
Yeah.
They're like background noise.
Yeah.
Really, literally. They do not do anything.
And it's weird because you feel like with these two episodes, the number one takeaway that I had was why make these episodes short and not spend the time doing other stuff you could do.
Yeah.
Like, they wasted time by not doing that. They should have made the episodes the typical length, which is like 55 minutes, and do other stuff. Because there's a lot of other stuff you could have done. And for instance, like the Mafia character, he's been really good this episode. Last episode, he was really good. And at the beginning of the season, he was just like a cameo, basically.
Yeah.
And, he should have been involved with the story more.
Yeah. And that wouldn't have taken that much.
Safi, they can't hear you.
I don't know what to do. I stand there and hover over it and breathe all over it?
Yeah. Give the microphone AIDS.
No, I don't have AIDS. Stupid. Okay, now if you're going to do that, I'm not. Okay, well, he ends up being an integral part, especially this first episode that aired last night. I mean, he's a skinny little guy, and this Frankenstein killer, serial killer, not only is he warped and mentally ill, he's big enough to squash him by sitting down on him. I mean, this guy is huge, and he's very formidable. And we leave off. In fact, this episode starts off with what we've left off with last week, and that is the guy went in there. He knows that this guy's the killer, and he has a gun. And Frankenstein gets up and he says he's got to go to the bathroom. And then the mafia guy gets up. And
Safi, you're describing last week's episode.
I know that. Well, that's what it left off with. So but you see him standing next to Frankenstein. He's like a little bitty mouse guy, and you have this big hulking guy over him, and so he subdues him and he takes him out of the bar, and it looks he pulled his head, and so the little guy's almost ready to pass out, and so you think he's toast, and of course Gino sees them. It goes in big bad
Safi,
old
you're
Gina.
you're Gina.
Big bad old Gina.
Gina Carano.
Gino goes after them like he's going to really do something against Frankenstein. I mean, come on. For him and the little guy. They think they're going to overtake this huge guy.
And the dipshit mustache man, the rogue. He comes there and he's like, I'm not going to call the police. I'm not going to call backup. And then they go in there, and it's really weird because they're acting like they're like Batman and Robin together, and then they go into the lair. Mr. Whiteley kills someone, or I guess he's killed all those people from the elevator, so all the people that we saw before.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, which it was all very anticlimactic the way that it was edited and filmed, the way that it's just like, it's kind of like with Chucky where, okay, these random things just happen. They just go 1, 2, 3, and they don't really like happen. Like you don't really get to see Mr. Whiteley kill anyone in this episode.
No.
Or anything like horror related. And so it was frustrating because, as I said, this could have been longer. It should have been longer. It should not have been like 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. It should have been 55 minutes. And some of the stuff you could have had in that is Mr. Whiteley being the man. So then what happens is he overpowers Batman and Robin, and he ties them up too, and he tells Mustache Man he's going to use his heart for the Sentinel, and it's sort of like this queer message where he wants to use the Sentinel to bring awareness to the gay community of how nobody cares about them. And it's sad because he had this idea, and this was another wasted idea, where he said that once he put the new heart in and he did this blood transfusion, he said that this being would start getting up and walking around. And I thought, that sounds like a kooky idea, but it sounds like the perfect idea for like an American Horror Story episode. And it's like a Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. It's a Frankenstein monster. And so I was very disappointed that then, we didn't get to see that. We probably won't get to see that. And I thought that was a big wasted opportunity. So what happens is the mafia guy, he is really good in both these episodes. That's partly why I would rate them so high, is because I think that his character is actually one of the best things about the season as well. He gets up and he saws off one of his hands so that he can get free of the handcuffs. And I thought that was really cool. He did it in like 2 seconds though, and he didn't seem that distressed over it for the most part. Which I guess it's understandable since he's seen that stuff over and over again.
Yeah, but it's
for
him.
A million years. Well, I don't know.
I didn't know he did that. This is the first I've heard it. No, because if he did, he sure didn't act like he even cut himself, much less sawed his hand off. Oh. I thought he was able to rip his hand out of the handcuff, like it's a trick handcuff.
And Bernie wants in here.
I told you. I'll get him.
No, what happens is, like, somehow he breaks free of one of his hands or something. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear that. He didn't watch the episode, so I don't know what he's coming in here to talk about. So, mafia guy, he gets up, he gets a saw, and he says, he says, it's my fault. I should have taken care of Mr. Whiteley years ago. And all this shit. And it's like, God, Safi, you don't even watch the episodes. Jeez. You don't even watch the shows you review. It's sick.
Yes, I do.
He saws off his hand, and I thought that was cool. And then him and Gino go in to confront Mr. Whiteley. And it's really hilarious because... And this was another wasted concept where Gino roars in there with a chainsaw. And it was very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. You had Dennis Hopper running around with chainsaws. And that's what Gino was like. He was like, and he's like, he's coming in to get Mr. Whiteley. And what did Mafia guy have? Did he just have the saw or something, or a knife or something? And then
anything real big, showy.
Gino helps. Oh God, Gino helps Mustache Man break free.
Right.
And this is the part that was kind of strange about both episodes, is that the Mustache Man has developed this really rogue personality. And so in this episode and the next one, he shoots someone in the head. Like he just has free reign to do that. And so he gets up and he shoots Mr. Whiteley in the head. Which was very sad because, if you wanted to keep on with the stupid police element that's now, I would say it was totally unnecessary the whole season.
I know. They didn't even have to be a part of it, but they had to have them to complain about them.
Yeah, that's all they were there for.
And which is pretty bad. I would like to know if that was the way it was.
Well, Safi, you be gay and get a time machine, you find out.
Forget it.
Take Bernie with you.
I don't want to get sick.
Take Bernie with you.
I don't know what that is.
Safi, don't ever do that again. Don't do that in our reviews. Okay, so it's really weird though, because they could have continued with the police element by having Mr. Whiteley in police custody.
Yeah.
And having okay, how do the police treat him? And another thing that still hasn't been solved is who is that gay cowboy? That cowboy who came into the interrogation room.
No.
Like, who was that? Like, that guy was clearly gay. And so I just don't understand, like, there are some strange elements that are really, like, they should have been given more thought instead of just saying, hey, we just make these short episodes and everything will be fine. So they defeat Mr. Whiteley in like 2 seconds.
Which is hilarious since he's so big and threatening and...
It's super simple, barely a problem.
Yeah.
And then after that, they just kind of dick around the rest of the episode. Right, Safi?
Whatever.
I mean, that's what they do. Like, it's like, what happens the rest of the episode? People are getting sick.
Yes, the sickness is becoming a very big focal point.
Mustache Man sees the ghost of his wife.
Yes, constantly.
Because they ran out of characters, so they have to bring back his wife as a ghost.
I was going to say, what is that? What is the purpose of that?
And then, I'm just trying to think, because it just feels like this episode was so bare. It was so, like, it should have had a lot more going on since there's only a couple episodes left.
It's like they gave it a shave. It's just they shaved all of it off except for the bare minimum.
Safi, I'm not shaving my beard. I don't know why you're saying it's like some sort of a hint at me.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to look like Gino.
Gino.
And so, but that's what the episode ends with, is why I'm saying, because the episode ends with this hilarious monologue from Gino, where he talks about pride is just a cover-up. Pride is just a band-aid for pain and anger and rah! And it's like, uh-oh, Gino unleashed. And so that was the end of this episode, was this kind of weird monologue where he's like, you know what? Mr. Whiteley was a serial killer, but who cares? I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. You know, just like Dahmer, you know, just like the message of the Dahmer series, where it's like, who could blame Dahmer? It's like, who could blame Mr. Whiteley? That's the message of this episode. And so Gino writes this cringeworthy monologue, and he does the classic, like, stereotype newspaper thing where he's smoking a cigarette as he's typing, and then he rips out the page from the typewriter and he's like, yeah, that's the one. And it's like, God, this is like a, oh God. I mean, you can just tell that they're just having fun with this crap. They're having fun with this show that they should have taken this way more seriously.
I know it.
Because they could have had a really good season. I mean, there's lots of great things about it, but most of it is terrible. And so I would give The Sentinel a B-, because I still enjoyed it.
I'll give it a B.
Really?
Well, I just think it was great that the mafia guy, who is not a policeman, he is a mafia guy, but I mean, he's little and skinny. And he was able to, it was due to him that they were able to defeat the Frankenstein guy. And he's just a little guy. But he and Gino dispatched to him in 2 seconds. And then the mustache detective finished him off.
And okay, well, okay. Well,
I mean, I didn't think, out of everything, I wouldn't have thought it would be that simple. Okay?
Well, that's what I didn't like, was that it was so simple. After all these episodes of him conveniently getting away, and you'd have these convenient chases where he would disappear into the shadows and then he'd pop up right behind these people. It's just so weird that, like, in this episode, well, all it took was just two guys going like, rah! As they charge him with various weapons.
Well, did he ask, the mustache man ask him why did he kill his wife? And what did he say?
Safi, he didn't kill his wife. The Big Daddy guy killed.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Safi, did you not watch that episode either?
I was hoping to get the answer to that question.
So.
Okay, well, I think we should go next with Fire Island.
Fire Island is basically a vignette of the different characters going to Fire Island. It's sort of similar to the tarot cards one where you see the different characters doing something and they're all doing the same thing in different ways. And, well, that's what it's like, Safi. Now you're getting back on the bed again. God, it's so
I'm
weird.
tired.
Tired from what?
I just feel like I don't
From
know.
not watching the show?
I watched both shows.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Liar.
No, I'm not lying.
You betray American Horror Story.
No, Marco, shush up.
So, well, we should also talk about, once again, Billy Lord looks really good with that gay guy.
I know, they look like the perfect couple.
They look like a couple, and yet he's gay and she's straight. It's really weird. And so
They act like the perfect couple.
she's going to stay home because she's sick. She's got AIDS. And everyone else is having AIDS too. That's pretty much this episode is.
Everybody's sick.
Everybody's going to get sick and die. Or maybe everybody's going to get sick and then a couple of them will die.
More than a couple.
The characters, Safi. The main
well,
characters. Who knows? Well,
2 more episodes, and what are they going to do?
the unfortunate thing is we know from past seasons they're terrible endings. They're terrible. They have these unsatisfying, weirdo endings where these weird things happen and they're just terrible. And so it wouldn't surprise me if every character died.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me. Well, I don't think every character's going to die because I don't
They
think
might.
the person who reads the tarot cards is going to die.
She might. She could have AIDS.
Well,
She could get AIDS from the tarot cards.
No.
Yeah, the tarot cards could transfer the AIDS energy.
No.
Could
Sorry,
transfer the
that
AIDS
ain't what
energy.
happens. That's why they put at the beginning of the episode of the series, and every year when they put out a show, they have like an intro sequence, and it's like little bits and pieces, and it's of things in the show, but also like artistic things. So there's a lot of references to blood, and that's the key. Bodily fluids, blood, and also
Oh,
just the behavior
Safi.
of those men.
Shame on you.
I talked to Marco about it, and it's just gross. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go out tonight. I'm just gonna have sex with every man I see. That's okay, right? And the guy, the gay guy, the one who's with Billy Lord, because he was her donor for her baby.
Yeah, he
right?
was just out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, I'm your sperm donor.
Right?
And
well, I'm wondering. I don't know. I understand how she's sick. Like I said, it's blood, transfers of blood and bodily fluids. Well, how? Oh, well. If it was artificial insemination, which I don't know what it was back then, because this is the early 80s. And so I don't know if she would have gotten AIDS because of that. And the sample was tainted with him having AIDS? I don't know. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that they go, for some reason, they get on this comparative thing where, oh, I've had this. What have you had? Like, oh, I have a bachelor's degree in something, and what do you have? Or something like that. What people used to ask, only this is sexually transmitted diseases.
Well, Safi, you're just saying that out of nowhere. He's talking about that with his boyfriend.
Yes, and it's just the underlying theme for this show, the darkness and the horror, is AIDS, and the emergence of AIDS. And I know what people think because they're not familiar, but we went to do research in Tanzania, in the Bukoba region, which is
I bet I bet you looked at a lot of AIDS, Safi. So
no, the place was infested with AIDS, and they had people dropping off dead, right and left.
Really?
They call it it was kind of like they call it the wasting disease, or because they would get real skinny, and maybe because they just were so sick all the time they couldn't eat.
Safi.
I don't know, but the people we lived with died.
This is
AIDS.
This is American horror story, not American comedy story.
The thing is, it wasn't just something that affected gays back in the 80s. It also went all over the world. And at this particular place in Tanzania, where it bordered with Uganda, prostitutes came down carrying the AIDS virus. Where they got it, I don't know. And they spread it. And it spread all over. And what they're left with today is a whole generation of people are missing. They're dead. So I just wanted to make sure that the underlying
okay,
core of
Safi.
this
So
is AIDS.
anyways, let's talk about the show.
Okay.
Enough of your AIDS.
Well,
we all know about your AIDS.
what else can we say about? They've already killed off one of the bad guys, and they also surmise there might be another killer out there.
Yeah, I mean, we've known that Big Daddy is around since the first episode, so...
And that one is a real mystery. And he's also hulking and big and undefeatable.
It was kind of another wasted opportunity because in this episode, Fire Island reminded me a lot of Friday the 13th. And then the Big Daddy killer reminded me a lot of Jason. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of unfortunate because I was waiting for Big Daddy to go on like a killing spree. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would have been cool. And then he obviously gets to Gino. But before we get to that, all the characters are having romance problems. Which, wow, that's very interesting, an American horror story. So you have Gino, and he's intense.
Yes.
That's what that guy says. He's intense. And Mustache Man, he can't handle that anymore because, I don't know.
I don't know.
He's
I don't know what he can handle.
His character is so strange, the way he's like going on this rogue path. It's like, where is that going to lead, story-wise?
And he said he had to get a job, too. Remember that? Now that he's not a cop anymore, because he quit.
Yeah.
They found out that he killed the bad guy, which they don't know there's another one yet. And the main guy, what is he? The head of the police department wanted to keep him on, and he said no. And he left. He quit the cops, so he's not a cop anymore.
Which, it is worth pointing out that even though they haven't revealed Kumar to be gay yet, like he is in real life, it is pretty interesting that, like, the guy who's gay in real life wants to keep on the Mustache Man. It's kind of strange. Like, it's almost like they're implying something, even though they might not reveal that. So, you have that crap going on, very uninteresting. And then you have the photographer, and he is very, very sick with AIDS. And he's not having a good time. And then his boyfriend wants to have a good time, and it's like nobody's having a good time on this vacation.
It's like anybody from Ohio ever heard of Put-in-Bay? That's what it was like.
Safi.
because we're not familiar with this area, but to me it reminded me of Put-in Bay, which is a place up in northern Ohio, a little island.
Okay, Safi. Anyways, back to the show. You have all this uninteresting romance drama going on, and it all has like an undertone of like AIDS is there, and it's like, who cares, honestly? Like, I don't really care at all. It's not interesting. It's not really a horror story at all. It's more so like a crime story or something. And the mafia guy is really in love with Gino, which is probably the weirdest twist of the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
That the mafia guy wants to be with Gino. And then he decides, whatever, I'm going to have sex tonight anyway. Because that's what gay people do. They just go around having sex with everyone.
And then they compare how many STDs they've had. Oh, I've had gonorrhea 4 times. I've had chlamydia 3 times.
I've talked about that 5 times in this review.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happens is Zachary Quinto, he's up to something. He goes over and he says he's making a truce with his ex-boyfriend. And we all know that in these stupid love triangle stories that a truce is just a code for he's up to something. And then we have this confrontation between Big Daddy and Gino, where Gino he's fighting one-on-one with Big Daddy, and he's trying to fight him, and it's really hilarious.
It is.
And then the guy with the missing roommate comes in to help, thank God. And I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah, I liked it too.
And it was exactly what I wanted in Chucky. When we're talking about like a good fight scene, it's exactly what I was expecting to happen like in Chucky. And then of course Mustache Man pops up out of nowhere and he shoots Big Daddy in the head. Another person he shot in the head.
Which is odd.
And as I said, it's like he's going rogue and he just doesn't care, and it's really uninteresting. Because it's like, where does that go? Like, where does that storyline go that would make me go, ooh. So then Big Daddy disappears, and he's still going to be around to kill more people.
Yeah, he's really Michael Myers in leather.
Even though he didn't kill anyone this whole episode. So then what happens is Zachary Quinto takes the mafia guy to this forest where all these gay guys go in there, and they're all like advertising themselves for other guys to come in there and have sex with them.
It's just unbelievable. It is. They are killing themselves right and left. They don't even know it.
Stop it.
It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I can't help it. I just can't even imagine. I don't understand it.
You're obsessed with
death. I would like
death.
for somebody to explain it to me.
You're obsessed with
why
shame.
They would put themselves in such. I mean, it was just disgusting. I mean, just right and left. It's like, oh, I've got to have sex 20 times tonight, so I've got to get 20 guys. Okay, number 1's done, and then so on down the line, and we got this little checklist. We're going to make the checklist while spreading AIDS all over. They don't know about the AIDS yet. They just know the sickness. They don't know where it's from. And the woman who does the tarot cards, she actually speculated, which this was a rumor, that the army or the military made up this virus to kill gays in a lab.
Yeah, that is what happened, and so that is what happened, and so we've already talked about that before, anyways.
Well, it's
so
just ridiculous.
Well, I'm trying to talk about the fucking episode.
Okay, well, go ahead.
So, the mafia guy wants to have sex with someone because he's upset that Gino rejected him. And that was probably the funniest scene of the episode, where Gino's walking along the beach and he's rejecting mafia guy. And he's just going like, "No, no, you will not say that, or else you will regret it." And it's really hilarious, and it's like really over dramatic. And then the mafia guy, he just acts normal, and so he's not acting over dramatic, and so it's pretty hilarious.
Just the opposite.
So that scene's the best scene of the episode, in my opinion. And they've already gotten over what happened with Mr. Whiteley, too. That was another weird thing. They've already, moved past it, even though they all almost got killed for a greater purpose. And then what happens is, it turns out that Zachary Quinto has drugged his ex-boyfriend, and he tied him up in the forest so that he can be raped by as many people as possible as punishment for betraying him. And I thought that was a good idea, a good story idea. That was pretty dark. And the mafia guy almost does as well, but then Big Daddy shows up. And then Big Daddy disappears. And after that, it's really, really weird, but I was glad, because I was going to complain in this video after I've already complained the whole video. I was going to complain about how, what's up with that guy's photography thing. There's some sort of a psychic thing with the photography. It never went anywhere. Well, it finally went somewhere, where these guys with antlers on their head, they all come out and help him, and it's
all
like
the
all
ones who've died.
Yeah, all the people that he's photographed and they've died, they come out and help him, even though I guess he's going to die anyway.
I don't know what that's about. It reminded me so much of Hannibal.
I guess.
I could not believe it. Every single boy, and they were all about the same size, the same age. They all looked very similar to each other, but they were all different, and they were all the men who'd been killed, I think, by the bad guy, and the first bad guy, Mr. Whiteley. And they all had little sets of antlers on their heads. They were all the same size, and they exactly alike each other. And they take the guy who's all tied up, and they release him from his bonds, and they take him away. And I think that's how it ends, isn't it?
Yeah, and I did really like that whole sequence, and so I would give this episode a B. And I would say, after these most recent episodes, I would say that this season is better than season 10.
That was bizarre.
Oh, what would you say, Safi? Would you agree?
Well, I like the part about Eisenhower. The only reason why is
I bet
because
you did.
we're all well past the Eisenhower stage, and none of us really know anything about him.
Really?
I thought
none of us?
I don't.
Oh.
And I thought it was interesting just how they showed him.
Yeah, but it was all rushed. It was all rushed.
It was rushed because they had to show that gay thing and everybody having babies, and that was bizarre. But I like the Eisenhower part of it.
But it was all rushed.
Yeah.
It was all rushed. It was all terrible.
It'll be interesting to see
unsatisfying.
how they end this, because they don't know about age yet.
So you wouldn't agree that this is better than season 10? You wouldn't agree?
Yeah, I think so, because there's a solid storyline underneath, but they don't really know. They don't know what it is. They don't know how it's spread.
I'm talking about the seasons.
Well,
I said, don't you think this is better than season 10?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And what would you rate this episode?
I give it a B+.
Oh, Safi, you're biased because you had AIDS once.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. Why are you saying something so stupid and idiotic like that?
You talked all about it for like 20 minutes.
What are you talking about?
You're like,
These are the people we lived with.
I went to
died of
Africa
AIDS.
and I had AIDS.
No, I didn't.
It was scary.
Okay, goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Marco's going to end it because he had to act like an ass.
Safi, what was AIDS like? Bye-bye, Safi. So anyways, one of the biggest problems with this season 2 is that each episode, you're always wondering, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do next? Like, every single episode, it's been like, is this really what the season is about? Because now we have 2 episodes left, and Big Daddy is still on the loose. But it's like, what are these 2 episodes gonna be? Just people dying of AIDS, and then Big Daddy is there, and he's, I don't know, like, it just doesn't feel like it's gonna go anywhere spectacular. And so I would say that this season ultimately is kind of like a sad season, because it feels like it could have been a lot better. And it feels like they wasted the opportunity that they had, and that, the early episodes were so bad, I never would have watched the rest of the season if not for this channel. So that's a problem too, is that a lot of newer viewers probably be turned off, and they should have executed the earlier parts of the season better. I will end this review with, I will say that the one thing I really loved about this Fire Island episode is that it had a very horrific tone, and it had a very dark tone, and it felt like this is the American Horror Story tone. It's just that nothing is really happening that is worth the tone in the background. Like, you have this horror mood, and the way that the story is being told, it's very dark. But then the actual plot that's happening isn't really that interesting. So again, I would say the first episode is a B-, and the second one is a B. And I can't wait to finish this season. I bet Safi can't wait either, because then she can talk about having AIDS again. Which, guys, just be sensitive about it. Having AIDS is not a joke. It is hilarious, but it's not a joke. And so then please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of these episodes, and then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more honest American Horror Story reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.